Hey guys, Utah Steve here, back for another overnight adventure. This is the Bald Mountain Pass. We're at 10,700 feet and my lungs are feeling it. This is right off the highway, so you're gonna hear some traffic. Pristine, endless Uinta mountain wilderness. This whole area right here is called the wilderness area. You will never see vehicles down in there. If you want to see that, you have to hike in. It has to be on foot, possibly horseback. No motorcycles, no quads, no anything with a motor. Untouched, pristine wilderness. So here's the highway. I have a photo of my late parents. I brought them up here once years ago when I drove a minivan of all things. And we parked right where those, there's kind of an elderly couple parked right there. And it kind of grabbed my heart because it reminded me of that trip up here with my parents. It was one of their last hurrahs into the Uintas with me. And I took a picture of them right there. I'll throw it up here on the screen. Over here we have Hayden Peak. I've mentioned that in several videos. Fair Lake would be around the corner down in there, further down the highway. There have been recent forest fires in this area. If we zoom in, you can see a big patch, if I can figure out what zoom in means. There's a patch right here, right there in the middle, that's pretty gutted, and there was a fire there. Luckily it didn't burn too much. They were able to get it out. There have only been a handful of wildfires in the Uintas this year, thank goodness. California and Oregon have not been so lucky this year. This has been a pretty light wildfire season for Utah. Last year was pretty bad. The year before that, even worse. We're at the base of Bald Mountain, and that is this mountain right here. There's a trail going to the top. We are going to drive back down the road here a ways to the Bald Mountain Trailhead. We are not going to the top and spending the night up there. There's actually another trail going down from the mountain to a bunch of lakes. So originally I was going to take that trail and go to Notch Lake, named after Notch Mountain that's down here, and also the Notch, which I mentioned in my last video, to Hope Lake. But then I've already done a video at Notch Lake years ago with my son Murphy. I'll put the link for that video down in the description. It's not going to be as good a quality, and it was a long time ago with a crappy camera, and I didn't know as much as I do now about filming and etc. But you can check it out if you want. What I've decided to do is take the same trail, but there's also a lake along there not very far in called Clegg Lake, C-L-E-G-G. I hate competing with the traffic, but I couldn't pass this view up. Anyway, we're gonna go to Clegg Lake today and spend the night. It's not a very long hike in. I'm not looking to pound miles as usual. The days are getting shorter. Today is September 12th, 2020, and I don't want to be hiking until the sun goes down. We have roughly 4 hours until sunset. It's about 3:30, 4 o'clock p.m. I just want to, again, hike in, set up camp, relax, explore the area. We're not up here looking for missing persons or anything like that, like a couple of videos I've done. I still plan on continuing that kind of series, but today's overnighter is just to get out in the almost autumn air. A lot of the leaves are changing, not the pine trees obviously, but driving in here, a lot of the quaking aspens were orange and yellow and quite beautiful. Anyway, I don't want to waste a lot of time with the days being shorter. So we're going to get back in the car. We're going to drive down to that trailhead and check out Clegg Lake. So this is the trailhead. If school wasn't in session right now, it would probably be even more crowded. Thank goodness it's not. There's Bald Mountain. And our trail is right over there, Bald Mountain that way. Our trail down to the lakes goes through these trees and down into that valley. Some information on the fees and whatnot, just your basic stuff, what kinds of vegetation, etc. There are mountain goats up here, along with a plethora of other kinds of wildlife. Now there is no sign here, but there are notices all the way up here saying no campfires, absolutely none. The fire danger is extreme, and that Who are you? That right there shows just how dry it is out here. So I won't be having a campfire tonight. Here's the trailhead for Bald Mountain, but we're going that way. The last time I was up here in the Uintas, the rule was you could only have a fire in designated fire pits. The signs I'm seeing now say you can't have a fire at all. So we're going to respect that. Here's our sign. 1.4 miles to the top of Bald Mountain. Clegg Lake, Meadow Lake Trail, different mileage down this way. So if you want to climb to the top of the mountain, there's your trail with a bunch of switchbacks. I can hear people up there. Most of my gear for this trip is identical to the gear from the Hope Lake trip. If you saw that video, it was my last video before this one. Oops. The reason it's almost identical is the only thing I unpacked when I got home was my garbage, my food. I knew I'd be coming out again this weekend, so I just left it in the pack. I know what's in my pack. I know I have what I need. I took inventory of my food and threw away the garbage. That was it. So I have everything I need. I did not bring a hammock. I debated. It would be nice to swing in one, but the added weight, my pack being as full as it is, by being full, it doesn't mean heavy. It's maybe 30 pounds. I'm not an ultralighter, so to me that's okay. Anyway, my gear is not heavy, it's just bulky. It takes up a lot of space. Didn't want to hog up more space with a hammock, so I don't have it. One thing I see a lot on these trails, my Hope Lake trip, the last video I keep mentioning, I was looking into the missing persons case of Melvin Heaps up or down at the Crystal Lake Trailhead. Disappeared a few years ago, like 3 years ago. Watch the video, I'll put a link down below. Anyway, his description of his hiking clothing: long sleeve shirt, straw hat, denim jeans, hiking boots, are pretty typical of people over a certain age. I just saw a guy on the trail back here. He was sitting on a rock, just out of breath, coated in sweat. He was wearing a cotton t-shirt, Levi jeans. He had big, thick hiking boots on. He looked absolutely miserable for someone who wanted to go for a day hike. And what I would say is, guys, things have changed. If you want a more comfortable experience, invest in just a few small things. You can find these things at, you know, your local Walmart. Your hiking experience will be much more pleasant. So far our journey has been almost entirely downhill. There's Bald Mountain. We're coming around the, I'd say, west side of it. Continuing on this way. As we get further into the trail, we'll sink further into the forest. It's getting more and more beautiful by the second. Of course, what this hike in means is that the hike out is going to be all uphill, but that's okay. I intend to hike out of here feeling refreshed and well rested. So I've seen a few people leaving, hiking out. I haven't seen anyone hiking in. Haven't heard anyone. I hear a lot of people up there in the on the trails on the side of the mountain. As I've said before, sound travels really well up here. They can sound a lot closer than they are. Not many more outings up here in the Uintas before snow flies. There is a camera right at the top of Bald Mountain Pass. I'll put the link to that down in the description. That's right where we were parked at the beginning of the video. And you can kind of keep an eye on the weather that way. Even in the dead of winter, it's quite interesting. You can get anywhere from 10 to 20 feet of snow up here, making it accessible only by snowmobile, snowshoeing. That's it. They actually close the gate about 15 miles down the highway at a certain point in the year. They'll leave it open as long as the weather's clear. You follow the highway from the little town of Camas, Utah, and if you follow the highway all the way through the Uintas, it doesn't go through the entire Uintas, but through a chunk of it, you will end up in Evanston, Wyoming. And then from Evanston, you can drive right down into Ogden from to where I live, my city. So there's a big, huge loop, and the entire drive is very scenic and beautiful. So I especially recommend that in the autumn when you want to see the colors changing, as they are starting to do, as I mentioned. Anyway, I'm hoping for a couple more good trips up here, some good autumn camping up here before the snow flies. It did snow up here a couple of weeks ago. I had some monsoon weather blow through, and snow fell up here at 10,000 feet, but it quickly melted a couple days later, or we wouldn't be here. Speaking of inclement weather, today is Saturday, and on Monday and Tuesday, the entire Wasatch Front back home where I live, the Wasatch Front is a front of mountains. It's a fault line with a bunch of mountains, and there's a whole bunch of cities built at the foothills of it. My hometown of Taylorsville, Utah, down in Salt Lake City, all the way down to Provo, Utah, all the way up to Brigham City, Utah. One straight line of mountains, if you're unfamiliar, and one long fault line. Still waiting for that big one to hit. Anyway, what happened is this Arctic storm blew through Monday and Tuesday. Hurricane force winds, my friend. I don't live near an ocean. We're not used to seeing those kinds of winds. And this Arctic air came down from Canada. Thanks guys for your cold air. I can hear you all now. Sorry. Anyway, the winds were so powerful they were classified at roughly a category 2 hurricane. And it picked up trampolines, it uprooted huge trees that were 100 years old. It destroyed property. One truck driver died when it blew over his semi-truck. A whole bunch of semi-trucks blew over. I live right at the foot of the mountains where that wind came through, and I got off pretty easy. It blew my trampoline, but it didn't pick it up and throw it like it did other people. It just moved it over my fire pit, maybe 10 feet. The strange thing was my kids left their soccer goal sitting out in the backyard, and it weighs almost nothing. You can pick it up with one hand and move it. It stayed put. Right behind it is my chain link fence, where I had a bunch of grapes growing on vines, of course. Where else do they grow? That wind came down, ripped through my backyard, moved my trampoline, left the soccer goal alone, and pushed my chain link fence, bent it down into my neighbor's yard. I've got my insurance company working on it right now. So pretty crazy. If that's the worst that happened, I'll live with it. Good example of how hot and dry it is and why fire is so dangerous. Just a couple weeks ago this was still green. Have not had significant rain in some time. That windstorm blew in and it was full of cold, windy Arctic air. Temperatures really dropped, but there was no moisture with it. Mostly a windstorm, maybe a sprinkling of rain, but not enough to help this. So honestly, as much as I hate to see winter take over up here, it'll be welcome when all of the moisture arrives in the autumn and winter to replenish this beautiful place. Here we have some lumber piled up. I've seen a few of these bushels from the good folks at the Forest Service. Volunteering mostly. Probably to extend this or replace it. Looks okay, looks sturdy enough, but if it's not, who knows what they're going to use it for. Maybe it's leftover wood from when they brought it in. I would imagine they brought that in on horseback. Can you imagine carrying that in? This is some serious lumber. Anyway, all of these boardwalks don't build themselves, so I'm grateful that they're here. It's always nice to step off of the rocks and onto something flat and level, even if it is just to go over a little stream that's probably a lot more ferocious during runoff season. That gentleman I just passed, I only filmed him from the back. I was careful. Wow, I talked to him briefly. He's mentally challenged. He's up here all by himself. He's got his hiking poles. He's got a bear bell on. He's got his backpack. He clearly knows exactly what he's doing. But he's also mentally impaired. And that just blows my mind. Sometimes I think, man, I'm so tired. Is this worth it? Can I really do this trail? Not this one in particular, but I've had that experience where I just halfway through the hike, I'm like, I wish I was home in my bed, drinking something warm and watching TV. I think it happens to all of us that get out a lot. But that guy back there makes me think, you know what? He has a lot more limitations. He has way more difficulty working against him than I have. It's not I've said it before, it's not the race, it's the degree of difficulty. And that guy is winning the race just by taking on a challenge like this with the problems he has. I'm just blown away by it and truly humbled by it. Really gets you in the feels. Bald Mountain, my friends. It's way more impressive to the naked eye. It's basically the meadow and then the hill and the mountain. It's huge. We're getting close to the lakes, not too much further. We still have probably 3 hours of daylight left. Okay guys, we've got a pond over here, and then right over here we have Clegg Lake. I'm debating whether or not to just move on to Notch, even though I've stayed there before. And the reason why has nothing to do with nature. As you can see right here, there's a tent practically in the middle of the trail, and right over here 4 or 5 other tents. Several people talking really loudly about Dale Earnhardt Jr. and getting drunk. So I'm guessing if I stay at this lake, I am not in for a very peaceful night. It's going to be very loud, and these people are camped almost literally on the trail. I don't know. I just don't want to. Even across the lake, it's going to be loud with people like this. If you follow me at all, you know that I come up here to get away from people, not to get as close to them as possible and have to listen to their noise. If I wanted to do that, I would stay home. So I think we're going to continue following the trail and go up over to Notch Lake. Now Notch Lake is going to be more popular, but it's bigger, more spread out. This lake is not very big at all. And I was hoping that most people would move on to Notch Lake, which I think they usually do. But these people just camped the first opportunity they could see, and they don't seem to mind that the trail is running right through their backyard. Same kind of people that probably live with an interstate nearby and it doesn't bother them. Good for them. I hope they have fun. I hope they enjoy themselves. Well, my guess is they are going to build a fire. They're going to get even more drunk and even more loud. And I'm going to be annoyed all night. And that's not why I came up here. There's only so many weekends left in the Uintas. And I want it to be peaceful and enjoyable. So let's keep moving. So here's proof that this is Clegg Lake. And it would be a wonderful experience, but for all those people. And they're having a great time. I don't want to be taken the wrong way. Everybody has fun in their own way. But not everybody comes up here for the peace and quiet and solitude like I do. They come up here for good times with friends, which, like I do with my buddy Joe. But more frequently than not, or even with my kids, you know. More frequently than not, I come up here so I don't have to listen to people or be around loud obnoxiousness. It's fine if they want that. I don't. This pond sure is beautiful from this angle. Just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, those people are directly across from me now, clear at the other side of the lake. Not what I want to listen to all night, guys. I'm letting you listen so you know I'm not being unfair. Anyway, that noise isn't going to stop till well after midnight, I guarantee it. I've had too many experiences like this. I just wanted to stay somewhere I hadn't stayed before and enjoy the solitude. And that is not in the works for this trip at Clegg Lake. I was thinking I like to make each trip perhaps a different lake, different area of the Uintas, whatever. But it has been numerous years since I've been to Notch Lake. Still remember where we camped. So I guess it works. I have a lot more subscribers now than I had back then. So this will be a whole new experience if you've not watched my other Notch Lake video. Well, the sign is worn and old, but we've made it to Notch Lake. We're going to continue hiking a little bit more. It's actually down there a ways. Two different groups of backpackers have come in behind me. I let one couple pass. Doesn't bother me. Couples are quiet, they keep to themselves. Then there's a husband and wife and a little kid behind me. I'm kind of distancing myself from both of them. I don't think I'll have to worry too much about noise from them. But that lake, I've never been up here in the fall, so in my other video that I posted below about Notch Lake, it's very full. And our campsite, I can't even tell where it was at this point. I'll show you why. You can see here And all of this is usually full of water. I am pretty sure, I am 90% sure that when my son Murphy and I camped up here several years ago, this was like a lagoon. And then the main body of water was where it is now. And that we camped and fished right over in here. It was either right here at this little campsite, which somehow I knew it was here. Yeah, this is it. This is the little site Murphy and I camped at. So if you compare the videos, maybe I've got some snapshots, I'm not sure. I'll have to dig into my hard drive by the time I edit this. We caught a fish right here, and I got in trouble for that video because I washed my pots and pans right here in this lake, and people got pissed at me for doing that. Even though I was washing fish guts into the lake, fish remains after cooking them. Anyway, so it looks like this drains right down this way. As fall progresses, it dries up, and that's what's left of Notch Lake. Now the question is, should I do what I did with Joe and camp in a site that Murphy and I had camped at in the past? I guess I am going to have to listen to noise. Should I camp here or should I keep looking? It would be kind of nostalgic to camp right here. In fact, there's an even better spot further in, and I seem to remember this too. Kind of, I think my tent was back this way, and we cooked in this area or something like that. I would have to watch the video. The problem I'm having now is those people who are behind me are coming through the trees this direction as well. And the people I let go ahead of me are right there. So there's a great big lake. Lots of room for lots of people. It's unbelievable that you can't get away from them. So there's a